Hey guys, it's Chris Crazyhouse here. I saw a very funny video the other day and it gave me an idea for a subject for this particular video. And the video that I saw was how game developers feel when a simple game blows up. And it was done by RDCWORLD. Very funny content creators on YouTube if you've never seen them. I would assume most of my audience has seen them because I mean they have almost 5 million subscribers. So if you haven't seen these young brothers do some of their skits on YouTube, I know you're missing out. And you know they always do very funny things, especially when it comes to pop culture or the entertainment industry. And in this video that they put together, basically what they were showing was, a group of game developers. They developed this extremely high realistic uh, ultra sophisticated game, and they're showcasing it to themselves, and they're getting ready to go sell it. I mean, they put 5 years of time into this game. They put their mortgages up. They've put all types of money and finances, and then they finally upload it for the world to see. And they said some people play it, give it kind of, wishy-washy reviews, and then all of a sudden they see that someone is playing this simple stickman game, and that stickman game is blowing up, and these game developers are just having a fit, and they I don't want to give away the whole skit, but it's hilarious. And when I saw it, I was laughing even harder because I've been at these types of meetings when I worked in social gaming, and I would sit through conference calls or these meetings where the the heads of the company would sit and try to think, what can we put out that will be just as successful as Angry Birds? Or what can we put out that's just as successful as Nyan Cat? And I remember at the time, Nyan Cat was very popular. For those who have never seen this game, it's literally just uh, a cat head with the body of like a Pop Tart or something, and you got to kind of go through these little levels and just get power ups and not get killed or not fall or die. And that's basically the point of the game. You're just tapping on the screen. But when I was in social games, that was one of the top games, and people were trying to figure out like how can we create something that is just as successful as these simple, extremely simple or dumb games. And you know, I've noticed that in the last 20 years or so, games, whether they be on console or online, they're starting to become more and more sophisticated as far as the style of these games, like to the point where they're almost ultra realistic, and they're putting, you know, they're doing like 3D renderings of mainstream actors. Like I was just watching the gameplay on Fallen Empire not too long ago. Like I've never played that game. I was interested in it, but I just never got into it. And I was watching some people that I follow on YouTube react and watch them play the game. And like I said, oh, this game looks pretty cool. It was ultra realistic, but I also wonder, would the fun factor be there? Like if I'm sitting there watching it, I've kind of gotten all that I needed from that game. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like watching a movie. Like once you're sitting there watching it, you're kind of getting all the enjoyment out of it just by watching it. I know they're trying to make games more of an interactive, submersive experience for people, but I do feel that games have gotten so realistic that they lose a lot of that fun factor. And I talked about this when I talked about that Avengers game, how that just kind of sank after launching. Damn near 90% of the audience just decided to not play the game and get off of it. I mean, that's kind of what's happening to the gaming industry, and it doesn't seem to be changing. Like the gaming industry seems to keep wanting to get more and more realistic and have these cinematic graphics and almost be close to reality, but it's not as fun to play anymore because you're basically just sitting there watching something. You're not really interacting, or maybe you're pressing maybe one little button here and there when you're actually playing this live action movie, And I think we lose a lot when it comes to games. I mean that's the whole point of games, is to play. Like I guess I would consider myself a retro gamer. Like I actually just bought the NES Classic system for my daughter, and we've just been sitting there playing. Like, they have like 36 games on this system, so like the old Mario games are on there. Mario 1, 2, and 3 has like Double Dragons on there, Ninja Gaiden, Contra, a lot of the original games like what's that, the balloon game, and Excite Bike and stuff like that. So just sitting there playing that, we've had so much joy and had so much fun playing these games over and over again. And I think that was the appeal of a lot of those games, is that they did not have the technology, obviously, to make these high-end graphics. And actually, the system itself was limiting to them. So them being limited by the way the system was built and the way the graphics will work, and they can only have a certain amount of animation frames, a certain amount of sound effects, a certain amount of music effects. And even if you guys remember, if you had that old Nintendo, you remember a lot of the glitches that they had back then because of that. But because of that, they had to make sure that the game was easily playable. Anyone could jump in and play it. People can play with repetition. It was meant to be repetitious, so that way you can figure out how to get to the next level. It was meant to be repetitious so people would share that information. Like, I know even that's been kind of lost, like that type of community. I know it's mostly done online, but it's almost not the same as sitting there with your friends, or finding out maybe in a gaming magazine and passing on that information to your school buddies, like, this is where you got to go if you want to beat this level of the game. I can't tell you how many people, just talking with my friends and playing with them, that helped me find secrets in like Mario 3 or in Mega Man 2. Figure out like which boss master's powers that you need to use to beat the next robot boss master. Like, all that stuff was learned just from playing over and over again and chatting with friends or playing with them, that you got the idea of how to, beat these games. And I think that's kind of been lost in the sauce. Like, now people are so obsessed with trying to make games look real and make games look immersive. And, the technology is still not 100% there yet. I mean, there's always going to be that uncanny valley to where your eye and your brain is going to recognize when something's not real. But, people are still trying to get to that level. And even those games, like that Cyberpunk game that just recently came out, even that's having some issues where people are taking the game back or not buying it because that's had some issues with its loading time and everything, because it's trying to load all these super graphics. It's trying to load in these sounds and everything. And, sometimes the system is not built for that. People are just waiting on the next system to fill in for that. Or people are waiting for what the next generation system is, even after like the PS5 or whatever, right? So that's what you have to consider now in building games. And I think that's what made me get back into more doing social games, and why I enjoy that, because it's more a simple way of game building. In fact, the most popular social games usually are the simplest to play. Like Angry Birds kind of revolutionized that whole idea of just putting one finger on the screen and slinging your character across the screen or whatever. They made it that way, and the simpler it is, everyone wants to play. Like, even my wife wanted to play games when I first downloaded that, and when I started working in social games and just doing stuff, like those simple one finger tap games and stuff. Even she wanted to play, and like I said, she's not a gamer at all. But that's what I mean. That's why those games are so popular, because anyone can jump in and enjoy themselves. And that was the original purpose of, if you read, like, the people who created things like the Nintendo, or I guess it was called the Famicom at the time, or even like the Atari. It was made for everybody and mass appeal. They wanted as many people as possible. It wasn't just for a certain learning curve or for a certain group of people calling themselves gamers. There was really no such thing at the time when we were kids, but now that's almost such a group that, if you're not constantly playing games and you can't catch up immediately, then you're kind of lost in the sauce. You know what I mean? Unless it's like maybe like a role-playing game or something like that, because those controls have pretty much stayed basically the same since those old Final Fantasy days. But, you guys, let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. Do you think modern games have lost something because they've tried to be so realistic, or are you a fan of it? I mean, I can't say I don't like the graphics. I love watching them. But that's the thing. I love watching it. I never get so hyped that I always want to play it. In fact, the games that I like to play usually look a little bit more cartoony. Like even like fighting games, like, Mortal Kombat looks amazing, but I still prefer the more cartoony look. Like I was just playing Blaze Blue today. You know what I mean? Like, so I still enjoy that. That's why I was so happy when Streets of Rage 4 came out and they still kept that cartoony look. They didn't try to go ultra realistic. I was so happy when they did that. And I enjoyed myself playing that game. And others have too. So I still, I don't know if I'm just because I'm old or whatever, but I think other people enjoy that as well. Like you see a lot of young people, like my daughter, she likes playing those more cartoony games. She doesn't really get into the ultra realistic stuff. She likes stuff to look more cartoony and more fun and more inviting for everybody. I mean, she's a kid, yeah, but that's where you kind of grab people. And these companies, they spend so much money trying to make these overly interactive experiences for people, and then they wonder why it doesn't sell. They spend 5 years developing this technology and getting these mainstream actors and scanning their faces and doing these crazy animations. And like I said, it's beautiful and fun to watch, but it's almost just like watching a movie. After you watched it, what else are you going to do with it? I can play Angry Birds over and over again. I can play Nyan Cat over and over again. I could just be sitting in the doctor's office waiting for my appointment, or sitting here waiting for my wife to come out of a store. That's when I used to play Angry Birds a lot. She'd be shopping and I'd be sitting out there waiting, just sitting there playing Angry Birds. That's what I'm saying. Like those games have constant playability, that you have constant fun playing these things. And likewise with a lot of those old Nintendo games, you could just turn on your Nintendo at any time and play the level over again, even if you've beaten the game. Like there are several games that I have beaten, but I still have fun just sitting there and playing them, or maybe finding new secrets or whatever. So you guys let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. Anyway, this is Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.